What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today, as you can see, someone went a little bit OTT on pre-release, and that is Kurt, who is sitting off camera. He basically went full on, got all of the bits for Kashtiras, and my god is this deck going to be a major pain in the ass. At the end of the video I'm going to show you two single card combos which show you how painful this deck can be, locking out zones a whole 9 yards. Please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more upcoming content. And for out of the way, we're going to dive straight headfirst into the profile. Now, pretty standard, we are going to be rocking 3 Fenrir. Slightly dropped in price, which is really, really nice because of the pure fact that the Ultimate has been near enough confirmed. We haven't had Konami officially revealing this to us yet, but they have started dropping down. So I think at the time of recording this video, they were like £40 a copy. Moving on to Unicorn, this has definitely dropped. This one is actually, I've been seeing a lot of people trying to sell them today at like £13 and they were like £20 a copy. But this is your most important card. This is like the 1 card combo because it gets you into your brand new spells, which is just absolutely insane. Then we've got the awesome new Rise Heart. This card is absolutely mental for the deck and is exactly everything it's been asking for. So if you control a cash monster, you get to special on this card from the hand. You can't special on monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn. That's the very important part because it means everything before the point of activating this, you can summon whatever you want, and we're actually going to be doing that in this deck. Because we are playing pure, we're not going down the adventure route, we are playing a way of getting into some very cool synchros. On top of that as well, if this card was normal or special this turn, you get to banish a cash monster from your deck, except itself, and then you get to banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck face down. So part of the way through the combo, you're going to be making Shangri-La before you make this, and then Rise Heart is going to be banishing from the top of the deck face down, triggering Shangri-La for the first time that turn to lock out 1 zone. On top of that as well, this can become a level 7, and that then makes it very easy to make any rank 7s you want. Ideally, you're going to be going into something like a Rise Heart that you can just whack on top, as long as Shangri-La has activated that turn. We've then got 2 of the tier element Kashtira, and I'm also going to show you the other new one because we are also playing the 1 Scareclaw. Now these 2 have really cool unique effects, is that during the main phase they have a quick effect, so it can be done during your opponent's turn or your turn. You get to special on these cards from the hand. If you do, you get to banish a cash monster or Scareclaw card in this one, or tier element card on this one, from your hand or graveyard. So obviously it is an effect to do that, but that's absolutely fine because if you're banishing your Kashtira monsters, you're just being able to loot them back with stuff like Birth and of course the trap card as well. So with the Scareclaw itself, once per turn this card can attack while in face-up defense position with 2600 defense, and if you do, you apply its defense as damage calculation. If your cash or Scareclaw monster if your cash or Scareclaw monster battles an opponent's monster, that opponent's monster effect is negated. Now if you've actually seen MSTTV's video, you'll see how important this card is. Because there is a way of if you declare an attack with your Fenrir, the attack declaration or the declared monster will be negated, meaning you can then use Cash's effect to banish another monster. On top of that as well, if you do banish the monster that this is declaring an attack on, the board state will change and it will let you then redeclare an attack with the Fenrir to another card, and because the Scareclaw is a continuous effect, it would also allow you to negate that monster's effect as well. So you're basically negating 2 cards from 1. The tier element monster, pretty much as the tier elements do, if it is normal or special, you get to send the top 3 cards of either player's deck to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard by card effect, you get to send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So again, it lets you mill cards out. So in a tier element matchup, this is obviously going to be incredibly good for tiers themselves. But in a Kashtira matchup, you're also milling cards for your Kashtira Scareclaw and of course additional tier cards as well. The final cash card we are playing is the 1 Ogre. There are other options in the deck if you wanted to play stuff like Small Worlds, you can play main deck Fog Kings, there's a lot of different options, and I'll show you another XYZ at the end of the video as well, which is a really kind of cool option, and that's why the adventure package works so well in this deck, is for the pure fact that it provides you with a negate that the deck is sorely missing. Moving on to the brand new spells, we are playing triple Pressured Planet with a single terraforming, so you technically have 4 copies of this card. So when this card is activated, you get to add a cash monster from your deck to the hand. Monsters you control gain 100 attack and defense for each different attribute on the field. Now keep in mind that you've got an earth in Fenrir, a wind in Unicorn, a fire in Rise Heart, a water in the tier element, and then another earth and a water in Ogre and Scareclaw. If a cash Shangri-La you control activates its effect, except during the damage state, you get to target a card on the field and destroy it. You can only use this effect once per turn. So again, it's quite like Pearl Arena, it gives you another forms of interruption. Moving on to the other brand new spell card. Of course, we are playing 3 of this, but sadly Kurt only has 2 at the moment. And this is the Thesis. This card is absolutely busted and broken. So you target a cash monster you control, and you special summon a cash monster with a different attribute from your deck in defense. We've already talked to you about the different attributes you have in the deck, so you've got plenty of targets for this. For the rest of this turn, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck except XYZs, but again, the important part of this is it's for the rest of the turn, so they can do whatever they want before that point, synchros, link monsters, you name it, and you're all good until you activate this card or Rise Heart. If this card is banished, you get to target one of your banished cash cards, except itself, and add it to the hand. So there's just so much synergy being able to banish this using your 2 elements, using your Scareclaw, so on and so forth. It's insane. Moving on to the hand traps of the deck. Now, this is what makes this deck so good and so powerful against the tier element matchup, is it can main deck one of the strongest hand traps of the format, and that is, of course, the shifter. Now, if the format starts to shift, then it's always Kashtira mirrors, or it's always kind of like Flunder matchups. You probably can cut this out and change it up completely. But to kind of balance that out, we are playing a very heavy hand trap lineup of triple Ash, double Mourner, and triple Imperm. Now, the reason we've gone with this instead of stuff like Veilers or Crows or everything like that is because if you're comboing it off with Shifter, or you're banishing from the graveyard in general anyway, cards like these can still be activated because they discard as cost. They don't need to go to a graveyard, where some cards like Veiler need to specifically go to the graveyard. These are all just options, so if you wanted to and you didn't want to play hand traps, and you wanted to play more board breakers, you could main deck Lava Golems, you've got the Adventure package, there's just so many different options you can do. And one important thing you've got to keep in mind of is a deck like Kashtira's, which you'll see in the combo at the end, just completely lock all monster zones if they wanted to. So that's when you need to be considering a main deck out. Imperming the Shangri-La during a standby phase can do the job. But on top of that as well, you've got to play a combo to a Book of Eclipse if someone is main decking it, and that's where Ash comes into play. Then for your consistency cards, you do play triple Pot of Prosperity, probably the best card for the deck for the draw power, and what makes it even better is you can play the one Infinitrack Goliath, and what makes it so good is you banish it face down, and then your Rise Heart lets you attach a card that is banished face down to it as material. So you then be able to give your Rise Heart the additional effect of Goliath. That means it cannot be destroyed by by card effect. Sorry. So that makes it even more powerful, as if it needed to be stronger in any way. We've then got 2 Birth, 2 Talents, 1 Preparation, and 1 Big Bang. Now, obviously, if you wanted to, you could play playing stuff like the Thrust, but to be honest, I think that the Talents is more than enough, is all you need. Because of the Prosperity, it's very rare that you'll be resolving the draw effect, or you'll never resolve the draw effect if you play 2 of them, if you open up both of them. But you can still look at your opponent's hand, you can take away maybe a board breaking card, or of course you can take control of your opponent's monster. And in a Cash Mirror match, that's so important, because you just take control of their Fenrir, and you can technically, if your Shangri-La is activated, you can then upgrade it into an Arise Heart, which is really, really powerful. The Big Bang is also the brand new trap card that we got, and if a Kashtira XYZ monster is on the field and a player controls 2 or more monsters, they must banish monsters they control face down, so they can only control 1 monster. If this card is banished, you get to target a Cash XYZ monster you control, add 1 Cash monster attached to it to your hand. Then you can special summon that monster. So why this is so good is when you make the Shangri-La the first time in the combo that you'll see at the end, you can actually banish the Big Bang from the deck with your Rise Heart. Rise Heart will then allow, or this will then trigger to allow you to basically special summon the Fenrir. So you get to take the Fenrir off the material of your Shangri-La, add it back to the hand, and then special summon it back down to the board. So it's basically giving you a free extender, which is absolutely insane because Rise Heart is technically then becoming a double free extender. Moving on to the extra deck, this is where the power comes into play. So this is where you're rocking 2 Kashtira Rise Hearts. This card is absolutely insane. Like, how Konami thought this was an acceptable way to make a card. Now, okay, it's summoning like condition of just requiring 3 level 7 monsters is quite tough, I'll give it that. But they then added a clause that once per turn you can also XYZ a Rise Heart by using a cash monster you control if an effect of Shangri-La was successfully activated this turn. You transfer its materials to this card, so if you were to rank this on top of another Rise Heart, or you ranked it on top of a Shangri-La, it would get even more materials. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. That's just from anywhere, which means Droplets is completely useless against this type of deck, because if you're trying to Droplet the Rise Heart, you can't actually activate it because you can't send anything as cost. It will all get banished, and it all needs to go to the graveyard as cost. Again, if that wasn't enough, once per chain, not once per turn, but once per chain, each time a card or cards is banished, just in general, you get to attach 1 banished card to this card as material, and it lets you look at the banished card, which is where you can start bringing back prosperity targets and everything else as you need to. And then once per turn, it has a quick effect to detach 3 materials from this card, target 1 card in the field, and banish it face down. It's very easy to put materials on this card, especially if you make it after successfully making a Shangri-La. And if you open up the full combo to get you into the addition of the Mind Hacker as well, you're going to be able to attach more materials to this card during your turn, setting up the effect as early as possible. And then during your opponent's turn, you're just going to replenish those materials and then go again. We are now playing 2 Shangri-La. This is just as important now, purely for the fact that it has its protection built in to stop it being destroyed by card effect, and it is what kind of initiates the Rise Heart being as easily summonable as possible. The 1 Mind Hacker, pretty straightforward on that one. The 1 Draco Sack, very, very important, because in the Flunder matchup, you can actually make this. So, like, you go Unicorn, search out Birth, and then if you've got another Unicorn, you normal summon it, go into Draco Sack, or you normal summon any Kashtira monster, make this, and then you've got ways to kind of pop the Penguin, pop the Barrier Statue, and everything you need. 1 Big Eye. I'm only going with the 1 Zeus. You can play 2 if you want to, but I feel 1 is more than enough for this version. We are playing the 1 Mermail Abyss Gaios. Now, I was using this in the previous version when you were using Instant Contact. You don't rely on as many extenders right now, so you can very easily cut it. And your 2 water targets are your Tier Element, or as your Ogre and your Tier Element Kashtira. So obviously this is pretty much a free extender or a free summon. And then your Ogre is something you can normal summon off of the back of Birth. It is a very specific choice, so you could take it out, and I'll show you what you can take it out for at the end of the extra deck. We've then got the 1 Red Eyes Flare Metal, and then the finals for the links, we've got the 1 Infinite Track Goliath. I've already explained being able to attach that off of the back of Prosperity. We've got the 1 Donna. Again, this is just kind of down to personal preference. It's just a way to out a Baguska if it happens to hit the board. And then, of course, we've got the 1 BLS. The final 2 Spice cards we play are 2 level 10 Synchros in the form of Baron de Fleur and the Sovereign. Now, you know a lot of you are like, well, how are you making this? Well, very, very simply, any of your hand traps in the form of Ash Blossom or the Moonlit Chill will give you the ability to normal summon them. They are level 3 tuners, which is really, really important, because the idea is you special summon out any of your cash monsters, then you normal summon out the Fenrir, normal summon out any of the hand traps, and then you get to sync into a Baron de Fleur, which gives you an Omni Negate from being worried about Nibiru's, Book of Eclipses, anything like that. Or if you're going second, especially in the mirror match, you can go straight into a Sovereign that a lot of people might not even expect, and this will be an insanely powerful boss monster, especially if you've been using D-Shifter or anything else like that as well. Another thing this deck can do, because it doesn't rely on its normal summon, is also play the Ibli Lock, as if it needed any more degenerate plays, but this deck is just insanely powerful and incredibly consistent, especially with the new support. So that is pretty much it for the profile. I'm now going to zoom out and I'll show you the 1 card combo for the deck. Okay, so on the combos, I'm going to show you the simple bread and butter of what this deck can do with 1 card, and then I'll show you just how painful this deck can get with 2 cards. So the first 1 card combo is Kashtira Unicorn. You special summon this guy down, you get to search out the brand new card Theosis. You activate that, targeting the Unicorn, and you get to special summon out a Fenrir. You then get to use Fenrir's effect. This will then allow you to add Rise Heart from the deck to the hand. You then overlay these 2 here to make your copy of Kashtira Shangri-La. And then what you do is use Rise Heart's effect to special summon itself down because you control a Kashtira monster. You'll then be able to use Rise Heart's effect, which will now allow you to banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and banish a Kashtira card from your deck to increase this card's level to 7. We are going to banish the Kashtira Big Bang, and on the new chain, you'll be able to go Chainlink 1 Shangri-La, Chainlink 2 Big Bang. Big Bang will target the Fenrir, or take the Fenrir from the Shangri-La and special summon it, and the Shangri-La will lock one of your opponent's zones, whether it be Spell and Trap Zone or a Monster Zone. It's entirely up to you. Then at this point, you've got 2 options. Option number 1 is you can just slap a Rise Heart on top of Rise Heart. And then during your opponent's standby phase, you can bring out Ogre, you can bring out another Fenrir if you want to, or a Unicorn more commonly. Or what you can do now that this is a level 7, and this is how you're going to lock more zones, is you overlay into Diabolus the Mind Hacker. You get to use Diabolus' effect, detach Fenrir. This will let you look at your opponent's extra deck and banish one from it face down. On the new chain, you then go Chainlink 1 Shangri-La, Chainlink 2 Diablos. You're then going to be able to lock a second zone, and Diablos will then banish from the top of your opponent's deck equal to the number of cards already banished. And at this moment, there is currently 4, 3 from Rise Heart, 1 from the first effect of Mind Hacker. And on the new chain, Shangri-La will then trigger again, because it's every time a card is banished face down, and that will allow you to lock a third zone. Then, of course, during your opponent's standby phase, you'll activate Shangri-La, you'll special summon out Fenrir, and from this point on, if your opponent activates a monster effect, all of their zones will then ultimately be locked. You'll be left with the 1 monster they've put on the board and 1 zone locked, and then a spell and trap zone locked as well. So that's just pretty the basic combo from one card, which is absolutely insane. Not to mention if they play any other forms of extenders, like if you really wanted to spice it up, you could add stuff in like the Astral Karibo to the deck. You've got the adventure package that is being run around as well. And that's even before you get into this card, Birth, as well, which is insane. So I'm going to reset the state and I'll show you the most important combo for this deck that locks out all 5 zones. So we start off again with Unicorn, and then the other 2 cards you want is either the Theosis or, of course, the Birth. Either one, you search out the other one off of Unicorn, which is the ideal scenario. If you don't open up Unicorn, but you open up Birth, you can still get pretty much the same outcome because you can special summon out the Fenrir, and Fenrir will search you out the Unicorn. So there's a lot of different ways to get to this, plus you play Pot of Prosperity and everything else around. So we'll go with the Theosis. You're going to special summon down your Unicorn. You can use this effect. You're going to search out the other card, which will be Birth. You then activate the Theosis, the exact same thing we did on the last one. You special summon out Fenrir. Fenrir's effect will then let you search out your Rise Heart. You're then going to overlay these 2 again, going into Shangri-La, and then you're going to be able to special summon down Rise Heart. Rise Heart effect will then trigger, allowing you to mill your opponent's deck for free and banish Big Bang from the deck. Big Bang's effect will then go off again, and again, you're going to want to take Fenrir to special summon it down. Now, it's at this point where you don't go into your Arise Heart. Arise Heart is probably something that's a little bit later on, but keep in mind as well, you've also got a locker zone with your Shangri-La, which triggered off of the Rise Heart. Then what you do, as these are both now level 7s, is you overlay these into Diabolus, the Mind Hacker. You then use Diabolus' effect, making sure you detach the Fenrir. It really doesn't matter which one, but the Fenrir is obviously the more ideal one to be bringing back. Look at your opponent's extra deck, take out their biggest boss monster or their biggest threat. That will then, of course, trigger the Shangri-La on the next chain, locking out a second zone. Again, repeating the same process. The only difference by having Birth as well is you get to activate Birth, you get to bring back the Fenrir, and then you can just slap a Rise Heart on top of that. Again, exactly the same as it is during your opponent's turn, special summon out a Fenrir from the deck, and now they're dealing with a Macrocosmo. They're also dealing with, if they activate a monster effect, the final 2 zones are going to be locked, or at least one zone is going to be locked. The other one will be occupied by one of their monsters, and you're going to lock a monster spell and trap zone, and then, of course, everything is going to get banished by a Rise Heart. Not to mention, when you do trigger that first effect, Rise Heart will be Chain Link 1, which will allow you to attach the Big Bang. If you've activated Pot of Prosperity, that's where the Goliath comes into play. It just gets more and more stupid. Like, it's a very direct deck. It does exactly what it says on the tin of locking the zones, rank 7s and everything like that. But this is just with two cards. Like, if you still want to play the Astral Karibo, I personally quite like it because you do ideally want to be getting into Diabolos the Mind Hacker, and because you can get into a Shangri-La off of 1 card now, just being able to add that extender, you've already seen in this hand, is that all we were really lacking, if we opened up Birth or if we opened up the Theosis, the only thing you're really lacking between the 2 or as an additional extender, and you've also got, keep in mind, you've got the Kashtira Tear Element and you've got the Scareclaw that can do the job just as well for you. So really, really powerful deck, absolutely insane. I know exactly, you know, why these cards are rocketing in price post Banlist as well. It's absolutely insane. This is definitely the #1 deck at the moment, in my opinion, but I do feel that a lot of people are going to be hard siding for this deck, and I feel that something like Branded or Sword Soul will take the game by storm a little bit later on because they are a bit more consistent and a lot harder to deal with. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.